Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Behind the Build. This is going to be covering Q2's releases, updates, features, capabilities, and everything else that's come out of the Synqly engineering team. I'm going to go ahead and get started with today's show. My name is Richard Malik. I'm the head of marketing over at Synqly. To my proverbial left is Steve Erickson. Steve Erickson, say hello to the beautiful people.
Hey everybody.
Steve is the co-founder and CTO of the company, so he runs the team that's making all the magic happen, giving them direction, and well, he's here today to talk about it. Let's go over some quick housekeepings. Today's webinar is recorded, so if for some odd, sad, unfortunate reason you must leave us, don't worry, you're going to get a recording of this afterwards. We're also going to be putting it up on YouTube for prosperity. If at any time you have any questions, do not hesitate to raise your hand, your proverbial hand, through the Zoom link, or just put it into the Q&A text box. I will get to it when we get to it. We have a Q&A section at the end, or if it's timely for what Steve and I are talking about at that time, we might interrupt ourselves and answer that question. And finally, you're going to be receiving a non-GDPR compliant email after this. It's going to provide a link to anything that we talk about during this webinar. So if we're talking about some news, if we're talking about some feature or a landing page, you will get that link directly from us. Just make sure that you're getting follow-up, plus a link to that recording that I talked about a little bit earlier. With that said, we've already introduced ourselves as beautiful headshots. Mine's a little bit older than Steve's, but let's introduce us, Synqly. Now, if this is your first time interacting with Synqly, that's okay. We welcome you. We're excited that you're here. We're excited that you're learning about us. Synqly is on a mission to be the universal connection standard for security and IT. Why are we focused on security and IT? Well, our founders, Steve and Joel Bauman, are from the security and IT space. They have worked and developed and built in that space for a collective over 50 years. They eat, live, breathe it. They know the space. And the biggest problem that they have been running into throughout their career is integrations, connections. Vendor to vendor connections are a very, very difficult thing to deliver. What's been great about Synqly is that it is addressing that problem with technology, and it's technology that can scale. And we're going to go into that a little bit more as we talk about all the releases that have come out. But we're here to ensure that the product that you are representing, is able to integrate into the products that your customers use. We're not an integration as a service, as in you hire us to do those and build those integrations. We will build integrations as part of our ecosystem. What we have built is a unified API and data orchestration layer, where you, as a representative of your product, build an integration into a single unified API. That unified API has a collective group of products underneath it. We break them up by categories. I'm going to show that slide in a little bit. Once you're connected in there, you have access to, well, your customers now have access to all those products as long as you engage them and activate them. There is a little bit more technical stuff that goes in on the back end to activate one of those connections, but you're not having to build out those individual integrations one by one as your customers need it. You're able to just scale quickly. And that's what we're on a mission to do. This is a quick preview of our ecosystem. I just updated it so you see all the categories that we support. But those products come in, those are integrations that we have down at the bottom. Those integrations come in and connect into our unified API layer. From there, there's standardized schemas. We're normalizing data down to OCSF. You've got configuration management, credentials management, and you have access to all those categories. And now you are on top. You are the client multi-tenant service application. That's what you're building. You connect into us. So you would connect into AppSec, into Sync, into incident response as your customers need it. And you gain bidirectional integration capabilities. That's going to allow your customers to get the data from where it is to where it needs to be. It's going to expedite those integration capabilities for you and make your product look more impressive. I'm a product marketer by trade, so I'm always thinking about that part, is how do you sell it? How do you represent it? What's even greater about this is that your customers don't even need to know that's not powered by you. We embed directly into the product. We are part of your ecosystem. And as part of that ecosystem, your customers don't have to exit your UI. They don't have to exit your experience. They can handle all the configuration that they need from inside the product. So we help with that and about that. And then this is what we have. This is our ecosystem. Really proud of what this team, 130 integrated products. Now, I want to throw this caveat out there. Nate, you see that on the left side. We build, validate, and constantly test every integration based on the integration partner's live environment. That is the differentiation between us and anybody else in this space. Every single one of these products we have a relationship with. We have a relationship with their main vendor. We have access to their product. We're building against real data. We're testing against it. And we're not just testing against it before we ship it, we're testing against it after we ship too. So Synqly is handling the relationships, getting those licensings, getting the environment spun up, and then building the integration. That's the easiest part, according to Steve. And then finally, the long-term portion, the maintenance side, making sure that API change and doesn't change, or if it does, because no vendor has ever changed an API in the middle of a production environment. If the API changes, we are able to address it and mitigate that impact on our customers as fast as possible. So it's that constant support model that's going out there. I think I hit on all the big value points on that one. Steve, is there anything else you want to add to like how we are building those integrations?
Um, just want to talk to the point that, this isn't a static list. I mean, I
No.
looked it up earlier in Q2 of 2025. We had 36 integrated products, right? So we're rapidly expanding this ecosystem. I'm expecting a year from now that we have twice as many integrated products, and we essentially, take that feedback from our customers. We build and expand the platform based on what customers need, and then all of our customers benefit from the expansion.
Yeah, it's a great list. We're even approached by some of these integration partners because they're so proud of the fact that they don't have to handle the integration, that they're advertising it on their website as well. So you'll be seeing some announcements from companies like Eru and Jupiter One coming up shortly. We just had a nice announcement with Jamf as well, taking the workload off of the vendor to get those integrations going faster between the products. So with that said, quick high level, again, if you're just getting to know us today, we are a unified API. You connect once and you're connecting to many. We are using generative and agentic AI inside of our product. We do have a MCP that you have access to and you can embed into your own AI, but we are also using AI to help build out and test and scale up to the needs of our customers. Now, it's not AI building everything. As I said, it's a very human-led component on there. And to Steve's point, we have the largest ecosystem of security and IT partners in the entire space. And that is something that we're exceedingly proud of. Our customers are reporting back a 90% reduction in investment in terms of time and energy, not just on the maintenance side, but on the build time to get their first integration out the door, as well as their fifth and 10th integration out the door. But that is not why you're here. You're here to hear from Steve and talk about everything that has come from his team over the last quarter. This is actually, Steve, I want you to know, this is the biggest deck we have done since we started this show. So I'm to your point, your team is developing and delivering quite a bit.
Yeah, I think what's nice about the introduction of a lot of these new tools, agentic AI, and is we're able to take advantage of those tools to build new integrations. We have obviously a ton of integrations into various products. We have a very well-defined way in which integrations plug into our environment, and along with documentation from all these providers, we're able to make quick work of adding new integrations, and you could see that here. I'll talk to the details of some of these within each of the categories, but being I think this is probably the most providers we've ever delivered in a quarter in the history of the company. I'm not sure, but I think it's probably
Not just providers, but I mean, I think it's actually the most categories as well. That we've had some big category changes on that front.
yeah,
Um,
100%.
let's There we go. I know how to change slides. Speaking of new categories.
Right. So this is a new connector. We're just rolling out now. We have initial support for Slack, Teams, and Copilot. It's essentially addressing the both chat-based products as well as including in that, AI, enterprise AI agents. We have an initial set of capabilities around being able to audit the interactions between, peers in the case of Slack and Teams, or be able to audit the conversation history within Copilot with the user and the LLM. We're working on setting up, partnerships with OpenAI and Anthropic, and getting access to those products to expand there. We see that moving into a broader set of use cases, being able to, enable sort of audit of the activities in there, in addition to that chat interrogation. So anyway, you could look for that, currently in the product that we have, and some expansion as we move.
I am disappointed my request for AOL Instant Messenger was denied.
Endpoint management was new for us, I think, the last time we talked, and just spent some time expanding that. I mean, there was like we heard some feedback that we needed very sort of described as first class actions for the various capabilities in the endpoint management connectors, make it easier for agents who are using our MCP to be able to understand how to perform those actions. And that, in addition to a few few additions to data mapping and filtering, is what was focused on here. We're still building this one out, with as far as new providers. We have a bunch of providers in the queue for this one, and if like all the connectors, if you have any products that you specifically need, just let us. Email security is another one that is fairly new. We're starting to expand. We already had integrations with Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and we heard some feedback from customers that they wanted to be able to get email related information for folks that aren't running Defender for Cloud but have a Microsoft environment. So we did push out a provider for that one, in addition to Mimecast, which is obviously one of the leaders in this space. Cloud security, we have a pretty good set of capabilities with a core set of products right now. We did add Google Security Command Center, as well as expansion of our AWS security provider, cloud security provider, and just continuing to update this one as we get requests in. I meant to say this up front. The things I'm going through are a very small set of the things that we actually delivered. I think we had 150 enhancements since the last one of these. It's all captured in our changelog in our docs. AppSec has become a pretty popular
Yeah.
option for our customers. There's a lot of good information in the connector around findings for both static analysis and dynamic analysis type of features within these products. There's been a lot of focus on the updating, and expanding sort of the mapping capabilities and the providers themselves. So this one is one of the more popular new connectors. So I'm glad it's getting some traction with customers.
I mean, it's also reflected in the spaces. We're seeing AppSec definitely take off far more inside the security and IT conversations as part of workflows. I come from that space, and so I'm excited to see this definitely expand out to meet the capabilities and need for our customers.
Identity is also one that's had some renewed traction on our end. I mean, we've been working on not only expanding into additional IAM type of use cases with AWS Identity, but also into we earlier added Workday. We're now adding ATS type of applicant tracking system type of products. And it's just because I think there's a broad range of these products that are now becoming the source of truth in different environments for identity. And we're, want to provide the ability for our customers to sort of query information about users and groups and activities that are happening in those systems that they may need. There's also one that's I think I really like, and we've just started with down this path. We now have the ability to query the identity risk from these products. So a lot of these products on the IAM side sort of are able sort of manage their own internal state around sort of risky users and based on the behavior that they see, whether it's you're logging in from Singapore and then the US in the same day and some things like that. And we're now we have an initial implementation from Entra ID to be able to query that information, and we have we're working on rolling that out for all the different providers in identity that support that. One other thing in we've you could see we made an adjustment for the government cloud support for Microsoft Entra ID, and that's something that we stand by the support for all the different like for the GovCloud type of versions of the products. We don't have direct access to those products, so we treat that as support issues. So as things come in, if you have a customer who's using that GovCloud and there's an issue, we could make adjustments as required. EDR, possibly the number one connector people use in Synqly. I will have to do some actual uh, data mining to confirm that, but there's a bunch of new enhancements here. We spent Trellix is probably has to be one of the most complex EDR environments in the world, I think. And they have several different EDR and endpoint security like products. We've integrated with two of them. So one is Trellix EDR, and the other one's ENS, in addition to a Bitdefender. And then there's just a lot of expansion, right? There's a lot of capabilities with these EDR products. We're frequently getting feedback for expansion of the connector to support different use cases, and there's a number of those here. We also went back and filled in the ability to query EDR events for all the providers, and there were some gaps there. So that was a good one. The last one is threat notes, which I really like. It's one of my little secret features that I think is really powerful, but it really provides an enrichment flow for the vendors that support it. So if you were providing threat enrichment, you could query threats out of these providers and be able to write notes along associated with those threats, so you could enrich the threat information.
I want to comment. I missed something here. Kanji provider, that should be Iru provider. Kanji did rename over to Iru. So if you're confused, they are the same. But I did miss that little bit right there. That's on me.
Vulnerability management, again, probably in the running for most commonly used provider with a connector with EDR. Again, some expansion in in that connector, new products. We added Wiz to vulnerability management in addition to cloud security, which we had in the past. We're also starting to look at integrating the exposure management type products. Like there's been a shift in the industry from vulnerability management to exposure management, essentially broadening the scope just from vulnerabilities to sort of ecosystem type of looking at a broader ecosystem for threats. And we've added Microsoft Defender, and there's similar products in many of the vulnerability management companies that we have today that we'll start backfilling those. we spent a bunch of time with this CVSS type of scoring and mapping to make sure that was all complete and functional and usable for our customers, as well as a number of other um, adjustments that you could see. Asset management, as Richard mentioned earlier, we added Jupiter One, and this is one that's again very commonly used. Where most of the work in the last quarter is about updating mappings, expanding on the capabilities of the connector, as well as adding a couple new ones as well. Ticketing. So with ticketing, we've had an influx of new ticketing provider requests, and we're starting to see those, pop out of the other side of our build pipeline here. Linear is, a really popular ticketing platform now for development and engineering, especially. We use it internally for our own being able to track work in progress in the product team and love it. And so we've had a bunch of customers asking for Linear, and I'm happy that we're able to get that one over the line. In addition to Azure DevOps and GitHub issues, we have a couple more in the queue as well. So it's glad to see that some people are adopting ticketing and looking at some additional net new providers. SIM and Sync, and we spent a bunch of time. I mean, on the SIM connector, especially around being able to sort of query, the query event data in a uniform way across all these providers, all the data mapping that's required in order to sort of fully enable the one-to-many aspect of SIM. And I think most of the items in the last quarter have been through working through improving those queries, being able to support the time-based queries correctly. The filtering is working correctly across all the different providers. Adding some additional minor capabilities to enable customer success there, but it's been mostly maintenance, over the last quarter for that. This is essentially a bucket of things that didn't fit into any particular connector for the last quarter. The biggest one I'll mention, and most people probably know this by now, is we have single sign-on support for both SAML and OIDC. It's a really powerful capability and something that most folks need for compliance for their SOC 2 and things like that. So it's nice for us to be able to deliver that and remove any barriers for customers who sort of need that for deployment. We did release a major upgrade to our Synqly SDKs this past quarter. You could see here the capabilities that we added, and we needed to upgrade the major version because there was some very small breaking changes, which you could find in our product docs. Essentially, there's all the previous versions of the SDK will continue to work, obviously, but there's just some minor adjustments that are being made that you need to make in your application to be able to migrate to that 2.x SDK. Happy to support people on that if there's any issues, but there's some really good improvements there as far as resource utilization and consistent meta function support, which is very popular.
Did your dog just try to join?
The dog is very interested in someone across the street. Um, Synqly embedded, super popular option for our customers. The things here are mostly, things that are adjustments for operations from our customers. We did release a non-FIPS version of the product, just for folks who have sort of legacy databases and other services that can't work in that.
One thing to note as well is I'll talk about this a little bit more at the end. We have a couple of naming changes going to be coming to the, at least on the marketing front, not impacting any of the product side. Just notice that.
Just some minor MCP enhancements. We're keeping the MCP up to date as far as the, current capabilities of the product. And, it's if you haven't tried out the MCP, I really encourage you to give it a shot. It's really powerful, even if it's just for internal use, to be able to explore the product and capabilities and the power of Synqly, as well as we have customers who are also in production with their agentic type of agents and use it for direct agent interactions. So I think it's if you haven't tried it out, I strongly suggest
I forgot I did this.
it. Uh,
I'm sorry.
there's we have we talked about a bunch of new stuff. There's still more, but stuff coming. Network security connector. We're starting with being able to query flow log information, DNS log information from the major cloud providers first. We're setting up partnerships with networking vendors and network security vendors around being able to integrate with firewall products, integrate with, like network security products, to be able to not only sort of query that flow information, but also set rudimentary policies, allow this port or IP, those type of policy changes. GRC connector is also coming very soon. Think about like the likes of Drata and Vanta and those type of products who are sort of managing compliance across a number of different controls. At long last, the threat intel connector. I've been wanting to build this since the day one, and we got around to it now, and we're going to be building that out. The most excited I am is around Labs V2, and it sounds super boring, but it's as everyone knows, we've released some mock providers, over the years as a way to be able to have be able to give our customers the ability to test against realistic data for the providers without having to have a full provider environment. Labs V2 sort of updates that capability and is sort of takes all the lessons learned from mocks and packages it up in a new offering called Labs V2 and or Synqly Labs. And essentially that has is going to be available for all the providers in our system. It's going to be able to have both accept data and as well as query data. Have a full filtering and ordering type of query capability, and it also has correlated data. So the data that is in the synthetic data in our EDR connector would be correlated with the identity connector, so that you could do some sort of correlated flows and investigations. So super excited about that one. That should
That, yeah, that will be coming out 3 weeks. I think we're looking at targeting that one. So big friend on that one. So at this time, that was Steve speed running through significant number of the updates. But as he said, this isn't everything that we've been able to that we've released over the last 3 months. The best way to stay in touch with us, if you are a customer, monitor that Slack community every single Monday. Let me rephrase. Most Mondays, I post up a recap what I think is going to be the what were some highlights of last week's release, as well as going over into our Spark notes, into our change log, and you can check that out every week. At this time, it doesn't look like we have any questions. So if you want to see a demo of the product, if you want to see some new capabilities within your own system, do not hesitate to reach out to us. We'd be happy to walk it through, Synqly.com, or just reach out to us on Slack, or hello@synqly.com as well. Uh, my name's Rich Mallett. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you, everyone.